It's time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Indeed it does on this Tuesday, and great to have you with us. Lots to do over the next 60 minutes of this show. We get to everything, including hockey. Dennis Bernstein of thefourthperiod.com and SiriusXM NHL Radio will drop by for a three-way conversation with myself and Sam Yarnell. That's coming up a little later on in the show. Talk about the Alex Ovechkin chase, the disarray and chaos in Philadelphia, and the final days of John Tortorella. Talk about that some as well. The UConn Huskies women's basketball team the embodiment of greatness. What more can you say? We'll talk about that some. Odds and ends, Zion Williamson news, a whole bunch more, but we start things out. Why not in Major League Baseball today, Sam Yarnell? I'm okay with. I'm always okay. Any day we start with Major League Baseball is an okay day for me. We talked about the Torpedo bats yesterday on the show as it related to the New York Yankees. And I mentioned the fact that you're going to see other players and other teams do this. I don't think everybody's going to do it. I don't think it's for everybody. I don't think Shohei Ohtani really cares about a torpedo bat when he's, hitting 50-50. I don't think, obviously, Aaron Judge doesn't care. But Elly De La Cruz cared enough to give it a shot last night, and it paid huge dividends for Elly De La Cruz. Big night for him in a Cincinnati win. Huge offensive explosion for the team in the victory. And asked after the game if he was going to use it again, he just kind of laughed. I think we kind of know, since players are sort of mental head cases in Major League Baseball. Something we'll hopefully discuss. Cameron Maybin, former MLB All-Star, tentatively slated to be on the show tomorrow. Here's my thing on this. I don't want to, and there's a theme I want to get to here. And that is, I don't need to see legit credible media people going crazy about anything in baseball in a 162-game season after 3, 4, 5 games. And I saw it this weekend with the A's. Oh, my God, the A's are going to win the AL West. Look at how great the A's are. They're pitching and this and that and blah, blah. They split the first 2 games against the Mariners, and everybody went nuts. Oh, my God. Calm down. Pump the brakes. Pro tip, turn your phone off. Pump the brakes, relax, and everybody just take a pill for a second. It's a 162-game season. I don't want to hear about what torpedo bats mean 3 or 4 games into the season, how it's going to be the death of pitching and offense is going to explode. I don't want to hear about that. I don't want to hear about the A's winning the AL West until we at least get to the All-Star break. I don't want to hear about any of it, Sam.
Couple.
The White Sox have 2 wins already.
Right, yeah, stop it. Yeah,
that's my point.
Ridiculous.
But that's my point.
The only thing that is bad for my White Sox under 11.5 wins by the end of April bet, and that is the only thing that it is bad for. So a couple of things. On the subject of the torpedo bat, I want to talk a little bit more about that because we talked about it on the show yesterday, and then I went and actually talked to some people close to Major League Baseball. And
close.
Yeah, right. I don't think that I do think that you're right in that I don't think there is a necessary speed with which they will want to get rid of them because my understanding of them, frankly, was incorrect. When the bat manufacturers were hit up by Lenny, as he's become popularly named, the bat manufacturers themselves are actually the ones that are now paying for these players to swing them differently. And I guess that goes into the whole branding deal between players and leveraging companies against other companies. But regardless, it's not costing the owners anything. So yeah, you're going to see these continue to be used and continue to be used. But what Jason said earlier is very true. Not everybody is using them. Matter of fact, some of the best hitters aren't using them intentionally because it moves the sweet spot of the bat. Quite frankly, you're only using one if your swing isn't perfect. But those of us, or those of the Major League Baseball players with perfect swings, don't need the freaking torpedo bat. It's not going to change anything. Matter of fact, outcomes could be worse with a torpedo bat. So the fairness of it seems to have been quantified a little more. I will say you are still getting a competitive advantage if you're using one.
If you're somebody that doesn't put the barrel on the ball consistently, then you're just moving the sweet spot to the spot. What would be the barrel for you? You're basically just moving the barrel to whatever the barrel would be for you. I mean, that's essentially what you have going on. More to say on baseball, and we'll do that in a moment. After words from our friends over at Edge Boost, all about helping you get the most out of your sports betting. The financial platform paying you cash back to wager. Edge Boost is an online bank account paying you for every deposit. With the Edge Boost Visa debit card, you're getting up to 0.5% cash back on all your sportsbook, daily fantasy site, and casino transactions. That's money back in your pocket just for doing what you're doing already. That is a no-brainer. Plus, your Edge Boost debit card starts with $250,000 daily limit. It'll never be declined for gambling activity. They've got built-in tools to help you stay responsible, and there's absolutely no hidden fees or minimum required balances. So stop leaving money on the table. Visit edgeboost.bet and learn more. Sign up today. Use my promo code RAP when you go to start up that new card, WRAP, and get yourself a account upgrade for free at edgeboost.bet. Just scan the QR code below. Can I just say this? I kind of like the look. I know people are going to totally disagree with me on this. We only have 90 seconds to flush it out. I totally love the look of the A's and Rays playing in minor league ballparks. I love it. I love it with 12,000 people there because it's full. It's packed. You know, Sacramento packed last night. Tampa Bay Rays playing at George Steinbrenner Field, packed over the weekend. I love it. I'm here for it. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, that's not what I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say you love the look of the Torpedo bat, which I think we can all agree, like, no matter whether or not it's good or legal or any of that, it looks weird. It looks uncomforting.
I got to say something on the Elly De La Cruz thing last night. I see. I kind of disagree. I think I wonder if some are a little different than others and a little bulky.
I'm sure they are.
Because if somebody hadn't told me that Elly De La Cruz was using one last night, when I watched him hitting, I wouldn't have noticed. It wasn't as fat. To me, it didn't seem the same.
Well,
as
Elly
some of the others
Cruz
I've
is
seen.
also like 6'5",
Yeah, that's true.
so like it becomes a little less noticeable when you're dealing with that much human being. On the subject of minor league baseball parks, I think it's great. It looks really cool. I watched my first game last night that took place in a minor league baseball park. Obviously, that said, seats in the second deck are $170. That's not sustainable.
Maybe it's just a per game pricing. By the way, Carson Kelly hit for the cycle. We buried the lead. We're coming back with NBA next. Welcome back to the show. Dennis Bernstein coming up in 10 minutes to talk about the NHL. I want to do some NBA. I know we usually do a lot of it on Wednesdays when Kurt Heelan's on the show, and we will tomorrow. But I wanted to talk a little bit about this Zion Williamson decision and the Pelicans deciding they were going to sit him along with CJ McCollum for the remainder of the season. So it's the rare NBA segment for Sam and myself as it relates to his favorite sport, the National Basketball Association. And by the way, it's Dennis Bernstein's favorite sport as well. Just ask him. He'll tell you. So let's talk about this. I am normally of the opinion when it comes to Zion stories that he's got to get in shape. The reason he's having all these leg problems is because he doesn't take care of himself and all those things. Here's the reality. When he's been on the floor this year, he's been good. He's averaged almost 25 a game. He's still averaging 7 rebounds a game, 5 assists. I mean, he still fills up the stat sheet, still shoots for a high percentage. And I get the idea that 4 of his 6 seasons now in the NBA, he hasn't been able to play more than 30 games. 24 in his rookie season, didn't play in 21-22, 70 games, 29 games in 22-23, and just 30 games this year before they shut him down with a bone bruise in his back. I'll also say this. I think this is as much about the Pelicans wanting to get as many ping pong balls as they can to try and get Cooper Flagg in the draft. And from that perspective, hey, if you're going to tank right. Do everything you can to try and put your organization and your franchise in a position to be able to get what you think is going to be a transformative player. We can argue about whether or not he is that. I think he's going to be really good. I don't think he's going to be great. I don't think, well, maybe great, but I don't think he's going to be Wemby. Wemby's a transformative player. I don't think Cooper Flagg is. We can sit here and have that debate another time, though. This isn't a conversation to me, and I know I might be the sucker here when I say what I'm about to say. I know I might be the chump who's, clicking the Nigerian prince email for $10 million. I know I might be that guy. You just want a new car. Click here to get it. Scratch off the ticket. I might be that guy. I think Zion Williamson is going to have a huge 2025, 2026 season. I think he's going to be healthy. I think he knows that time's kind of running out. The narratives, have sort of been written. And I think he's going to have a huge season next year. Especially if things fall right for them in free agency and the draft. Go ahead. Tell me how nuts I am.
You're old, man. I mean, you didn't even use the right analogy. The current scam, it's the easy pass one. Haven't you gotten it?
I have.
The text,
I have.
You owe $37 on your easy pass, and then you go to pay it, and the next thing you know, your bank account is somehow empty. That's the scam that you're falling for with Zion Williamson next season. No, so a couple of things. I'll start with the Zion thing. I think in the world that you've just kind of constructed, where the ping pong balls bounce the way of the New Orleans Pelicans, and they end up with that number 1 overall, and they go with Cooper Flagg. By the way, completely with you. Don't think that Flagg is this transcendent player the way Wemby is, the way, the guys we're going to have coming out of the draft next year are. He's not them. But he is special. He is a great player. He's a great basketball player. So say the Pelicans get the number 1 overall pick. They take Cooper Flagg. That's where I think your bold prediction about Zion really comes into play. If they get Cooper Flagg, so much of that load is taken off of Zion Williamson. His minutes go down a ton, right? He's only playing really in clutch time. He's only playing when they really need him out on the floor, and he can succeed in that too big offense. Cooper Flagg can take that pressure off of him in that offense and also on that defense, because let's not forget, when healthy, like you said, Zion Williamson, a great defender as well, when he gets all the way back down the floor, that is. So that's point one. The second thing is, back to the original point of the conversation, the Pelicans ruling out Zion and CJ McCollum for the remainder of the season. And Jason, this was something that was postulated yesterday to someone, or to me by someone, right? And I really didn't kind of think about it. And then the day kind of wore on and it wouldn't get out of my head. I had to keep thinking about this idea that CJ McCollum, really, when you think about it, was kind of the linchpin in this whole problem with the NBA that many people, myself included to an extent, blame on LeBron James, right? CJ McCollum was the linchpin in, all right, dynamic duos are no longer competing with super teams. We're going to mail it in, the Portland Trailblazers. We're going to sell off all these pieces. And at the end of the day, Golden State Warriors, you did it. You beat us up for so many years. We're never going to get to the finals. We're never going to win the championship because, quite frankly, a dynamic duo can't compete with a super team. CJ McCollum leaving for the New Orleans Pelicans was the end of that dynamic duo and the surrender to the super team at the time that was the Golden State Warriors, Jason. So I think this is just another chapter in the book of CJ McCollum that really does not get enough credit for how detrimental it was to the sport of basketball as a whole.
How awful it was for basketball. By the way, the Pelicans right now, 4th worst record in the league, behind the Hornets, Wizards, and the Jazz. So if you're thinking about potentially getting Cooper Flagg, there you go. They have the 4th worst record in the league, and they're just 2 games behind the Hornets for the 3rd worst record in the league.
So. But the Wizards are going to have 14% of Cooper Flagg.
God. where does the NBA want him to land?
Well, right now your options
none of them.
are
The Hornets, Wizards, Pelicans, and Jazz. They don't want him to end up in any of those places.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, they're preying on the combined 19.5% chance that there is that he lands in Philadelphia or Brooklyn. There's a 1 in 5 chance he's playing in Philadelphia or Brooklyn next year.
That's true. Yeah, maybe Brooklyn. They certainly wouldn't mind. They certainly wouldn't mind that.
Philadelphia either. I think
Philadelphia.
I think the league.
Philadelphia has found a way to screw that thing up so bad that at this point, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing is a mess with PG-13 and.
But
and
what I
Embiid.
just said about Zion and Cooper Flag, imagine it about Embiid and Cooper Flag.
If Embiid could ever stay on the floor. And we're done. Dennis Bernstein next. Welcome back to Sports Wrap. Let's talk some hockey. We are approaching the postseason. Dennis Bernstein is here. TheFourthPeriod.com, SiriusXM NHL Radio. One of my longtime colleagues and friends in this industry who I just love talking to whenever I get the chance. And Sam Yarnell has even joined the conversation because he loves hockey, and he said, I got questions. So I said we could bring Dennis on and talk NBA because that's his real favorite sport.
Oh, no.
But see, there it is. Look at, see, I told you I would get a reaction out of him. Mission accomplished.
The only thing worse than sitting through an NBA game is, as a Yankee fan, had to sitting through the Dodger ring ceremony last week.
Oh,
the only thing worse.
God, yeah, I know. Hey, those torpedo bats are going to take us to a world title, though. It's okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So let me ask you: is Ovechkin going to get there? Like we all thought it was a fait accompli here. He needs 5 more goals. Is this going to be like the biggest cliffhanger since Who Shot JR?
Yeah, maybe. The math is 5 goals in 9 games, which he can definitely do. They're going to be looking for him. I think he needs another multi-goal game, Jay. Like they play Boston tonight. If he gets 2 goals and he's down to 3 and 8, that's a lot more doable. But it's the funny thing about Ovi. You know what he said after the last game where he scored? He goes, "We lost 3 in a row," and it just tells you how important. Like I'm sure it's very, very important for him to break that record. But he's focused on winning his second cup, and he knows he has a team underneath him that can possibly win. So I think we'll get there. It may come down to game 82, Jay, but I think if he gets 1 or 2 closer and he's at 3, with the Capitals really having the Metro Division in hand, you're going to start looking for the player. So I think that as we creep towards the game 82, I think you'll see more opportunities for him because they've clinched the division basically, and then they'll be looking to set him up. So they don't have to talk about this over the summer and into next season.
I had Chuck Todd on the show last week, formerly of Meet the Press, who's a huge sports fan. And we were talking about the DC sports scene because obviously he lives there. And I asked him a question about the chase and how much it's captivated the hearts and minds and the imaginations of sports fans there. And he was kind of wishy-washy on it in that while they have a diehard fan base and they sell out the place and that fan base is rabid, it is still relatively small to the overall DMV. And while they're rooting for the team, I almost get the sense that team winning a Stanley Cup would be bigger in some regards than the chase for him trying to catch Gretzky. Am I wrong?
No, I think this supersedes it because they have won there. They won in 18. Yeah. So if Ovi had not won anything and he's chasing the record, then it's a bigger story in pursuit of his first Stanley Cup and to break history. So I think so. It's not a big market. It's not a big city. So and you have the Commanders. You have it's not a great sports market right now. So I think I'm surprised it's not a bigger story because, well, the Commanders did well, obviously, in the playoffs. Sure. But I think as we get closer and closer, it's down to 1 or 2. I think it becomes the biggest story in that market.
Dennis, when we talk about the practicality, though, of the Capitals actually winning the Stanley Cup and going through what is the most grueling postseason in sports, what do you think their chances are like against a Lightning team or a Maple Leaf team that have been doing all right with regard to the rest of the Eastern Conference? Or obviously a Florida team that's as talented as any and waiting to get Tkachuk back, hopefully by the first round.
Well, Sam, I don't think anybody's afraid of playing the Toronto Maple Leafs in the playoffs because they haven't won since '67, so they're not going to probably win the season as well. Here's the thing, Sam. When we talk about teams like Washington and Winnipeg, what do? We don't laud how great they're playing. We look at holes in their stories. Like, why won't they win? Why won't Winnipeg win? Because the Hellebuyck hasn't happened. With respect to Washington, here's the thing. This group of players has done nothing in the playoffs. Like, this team just got into playoffs. It was a miracle last year. They were minus 37 goal differential. They got in by 1 point. They got knocked out by the Rangers in 5. So while there's no flaws on this team, and it looks like it's a really good offensive team, I think you look at two things. No experience in the playoffs as a group. And you've seen great teams like, the Boston Bruins a couple of years ago that set the record. And remember, Tampa Bay couldn't get over the hump. What did they have to do? They had to lose in the playoffs to win. So that's the one thing. And the other question is, can Logan Thompson and maybe Charlie Lindgren and Net be those guys in the playoffs that they were in the regular season? I don't know. We'll see, because it's a very different game, as you both know, once we get to game 83. So, yes, they should be favored. They're in a good spot. They've been playing great. There's no flaws on this team. They're deep. They're big. They have solid goaltending. But it's a very, very different game because you're not fighting for feet in the playoffs. You're fighting for inches.
By the way, apologies to our audience in Toronto. The opinions of Dennis Bernstein do not reflect the opinions of Sports Rap with Jay Spade. We are on and across about half of Canada. Thank you, Dennis. You just lost me my entire. You just lost me my entire Canadian audience.
Facts. I'm just spitting facts.
He's right. The Leafs aren't winning it this year, Jason.
All right. Fair enough. I've seen a lot reported on this John Tortorella stuff with him getting canned in Philadelphia. How bad was this thing over the final stretch of his tenure there?
Well, if you've seen what the team's done since he left, they won 3 straight, and they look really happy and scoring a lot of goals. So there's some merit to it. Yeah,
and he'll get hired again somewhere, Dennis. That's what happens.
He might. I don't know. He was the oldest coach of the league. Yeah, and then some people are speculating about the Rangers because the Rangers need a guy who's going to, right. He had a shelf life, and then you got a really bad verbal altercation with Cam York, which was reported. So it was tough. Like I think he was done anyway in Philly. I think that because of what happened with Cam York, they decided to pull the shoot on him with 9 games to go. I think he was going to retire. But now, since he doesn't retire, he gets fired. He gets paid next year of his contract. So he might be silly, but it's not stupid.
What would it mean for the Senators to make the playoffs, considering sort of all that is sort of enwrapped that franchise here in recent years?
Well, it makes their new owner, Michael Andlauer, look really, really good, right? He bought the team 2 years ago, and now they make the playoffs after, a decade in the wilderness. I think it means a lot because there's another Canadian team making the playoffs, which I think is a good thing for the league. Not just having Edmonton and Toronto in there all the time, and certainly Winnipeg. So it would mean a lot because this team has not played well, and they have a lot of talent. Credit ownership. Credit Travis Green, who's come in and coached his team very, very well. They have a lot of talent here, so I think it will be nice and they're trying to get a building there in downtown Ottawa because the current one is out in the suburbs 20 miles away, and it's one road to get there. It's not really helping attendance, but it certainly will help attendance. But now they have a billionaire owner who's willing to put money into the team, so I think it's just another feel-good story in Ottawa, along with hopefully a new building in a couple of years.
Dennis Bernstein is hanging out with us. We're going to hold him for one more segment. We've bolted him to the chair. Sam's got some questions to ask about postseason awards. We will permit him to ask those, and we will continue on this Tuesday edition of Sports Wrap, talking some NHLs. We approach the postseason with Dennis Bernstein of thefourthperiod.com and SiriusXM NHL Radio. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to do. All right, coming up in 10 minutes, the greatness of Gino Auriemma and the UConn Huskies. Something to consider. But first, we continue the conversation on the NHL with Dennis Bernstein of thefourthperiod.com and SiriusXM NHL Radio as we approach the NHL postseason. Went through some stuff in the Eastern Conference. Sammy Arnell, fire away.
Dennis, we finished the last segment talking about the Ottawa Senators, obviously a team getting ready to end their playoff drought. I want to talk about the team with the longest playoff drought. Lindy Ruff came into Buffalo this year. Obviously, it didn't work. Are he and Kevin Adams both gone after this season in your mind?
Sam, I thought we were pals. We're going to talk about the Buffalo Sabres. If it was me, and here's the thing. people point at ownership. They go, oh, it's ownership's fault. They also own the Buffalo Bills, and Buffalo Bills are pretty good. And they're a pretty well-run organization. So it's not ownership because they're willing to spend the money. Sam, to your point, there needs to be a cultural change in Buffalo. It has to happen. And that starts with the general manager, Kevin Adams. My assumption is if he's replaced, then the new GM gets to pick his new coach. And I don't know why Lindy Ruff went in there to begin with. It didn't seem a right fit, and it hasn't worked. There's a lot of talent on this team. I think they're 8th in scoring. Here's the thing. You have 2 first overall picks on the blue line in Darlene and Owen Power, and you still suck on defense, and you can't find a goaltender. They need goaltending and defense. So I would change it. And the other thing, Sam, if you watch this team, about a month ago, Tage Thompson got hit in the head. Nobody went after the guy to hit him in the head. And then a couple weeks later, Rasmus Dahlin's going to have to fight 3 guys at the goal mouth, and nobody's coming to his protection, and he's the captain of the team. Culture change. That starts at the top. It starts with the general manager. What they think they need to do is what some other organizations have done, like Colorado. Bring in a figurehead to be the president of hockey operations. Bring in a GM that knows what he's doing. Because Kevin Adams wasn't a GM before. He was running the financial side of Harborside, the arena in Buffalo. I think it starts at the top. You could change out the players. You could always do that. But I think when you look, and it's gone, on 13 years of not being the players for Buffalo, I think they need a culture change. That would start with Kevin Adams. So I assume that change the GM, you also would change the coach next season because it just hasn't worked.
Now, as we move from the really bad, like cannot get worse, to the best of the best, let's talk about the Hart Trophy and the regular season MVP for this year. It's a foregone conclusion that Connor Hellebuck's going to win the Vezina. Does he have a chance at the Hart, Dennis?
I'm old school, Sam. I'm a voter. The MVP for goaltenders is the Vezina. He has a shot. Maybe he's one of the finalists if they do still name, because they're not doing the NHL awards this year. So if there are 3 finalists, maybe he gets the 3rd. I wouldn't vote him first. I wouldn't, because I think Draisaitl and McKinnon are having 2 fabulous years, and they play 82 games. He might win 50 games. He might play 60, but I'm sorry, he won't play 20 games this year. And I can't in good conscience have a guy who doesn't play in 20 games or 15 games being the MVP when you have Draisaitl scoring 50 goals and nobody's close to him. And McKinnon, and I know it's not a lifetime achievement award, Sam, but you know what McKinnon just did the other night? He's had 3 consecutive seasons of 110 points, which very rare. It's very rare to do that. So I think between McKinnon and Draisaitl, I just think there's enough a body of work of both those guys to say that Hellebuck, although he's had maybe a record-setting season, for me, it's not a goaltender that should be MVP of the league.
We've talked about, the greatness of Winnipeg. But we really haven't talked a lot about, at least in our segments, the Dallas Stars. Are we sleeping on them?
No, we're not sleeping on them because they've been great for a couple of seasons, JP, and they haven't got to the They haven't got to the promised land. They were up They were up on Dallas last year, and I think that the reservations on them is not the depth of this team. It's not the defense. Now Heiskansen's out, which could certainly impact them, and they could play Colorado in the first round, which might knock them out. I think it's the goaltender. I think it's Jake Ottinger. He just hasn't been good enough in the playoffs. He wasn't good enough against Edmonton. He was outplayed by Stuart Skinner. And if you watch Stuart Skinner this year, he's not outplaying anybody. So I think there's reservation. Not that they can't go all the way, Jason. And they are an excellent team. I love their depth. Jim Nill, back-to-back GMs of the year, because he pulls off great trades like the Rantanen trade. So there's certainly enough quality there. They just haven't gotten over the hump. And the reason they haven't is because I think of the goaltender. So when Jake Ottinger really stands up and plays to his ability, to his ceiling, could they get to the final and could they win it all? They could. I think that's the reservation about this team because they've been there deep in playoffs and haven't got there. Even in 2020 in the bubble, they go into the Cup final, couldn't get it done.
Sam, you got one more?
Dennis, I was just thinking, just kind of to myself, with the success that the Capitals have had, especially in these first 2 years under Carberry, do you think that there's a shift in how NHL teams in general will try to find new coaches and they'll look for the younger, more analytical guys?
I'm a Rams fan. I got Sean McVay out here. Yes, they should. And it's not only because they're analytical part. You have to be able to connect to the players, Sam. And you can't if I'm 67, I can't coach a 21-year-old player. You need younger players. You need guys whose sons are on their cell phones all the time. Like when Tom McClellan was here, he said, yeah, my 2 kids in college are on. You need to be able to connect to the players and you be able to motivate the players. I think it's a younger voice like the Carberries, and he's done a fabulous job, Sam, as we all have known, the 2 years. I mean, he should be the Jack Adams winner without question, taking this team to the top of the standings. But I think that's what you need, because you need to connect with the players because, even though the only power that you have as a coach is benching guys, you can't really bench a $10 million a night player for more than one game to send a message. So I think it's those type of coaches. And there are your older coaches like Jim Montgomery's doing a great job in St. Louis, and he connected the players. It's got to be a not a my way or highway guy. It's got, Brian Burke once told me this one line. He goes, back in the day, you told a soldier, why just take that hill. But now you have to explain why you got to take that hill and what's the next hill you're going to take. Players want to know more. They're just more savvy. They're more worldly, and it's more about the why this is going to work. They need to be explained stuff more. So I think that, again, to your point, I think it is going to be younger coaches that maybe more coaches coming out of college that have coached younger players, as opposed to the guys who have coached veterans like Tortorella or Laviolette in New York.
Dennis Bernstein, SiriusXM NHL Radio, thefourthperiod.com. When are you coming out to Vegas? When am I going to see you? I owe you a dinner.
For the Stanley Cup final, if not sooner.
That's it?
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe a concert or somewhere. Right. I don't know. The mic will drag me out.
Dennis, I always appreciate you. Thank you, my friend.
JP, Sam, thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Sports Wrap rolls on a Tuesday. Busy show tomorrow. Cameron Maben slated to be on the show. And Kurt Heelan of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Vlad will be here. It'll be a whole good time. Clint Hurdle on the show next week. He's got a new book out. Talk to him about that, his life in Major League Baseball, what he's up to these days. Wonder what he thinks of torpedo bats, Sam Yarnell. I'll be curious to get his thoughts. So true story. When I was a bat boy for the New Haven Ravens in 1994, I believe it was. I was a bat boy for the New Haven Ravens. They were the AA affiliate of the Colorado Rockies, their first season in Major League Baseball. And I was the bat boy for the AA team. Me and a kid named Armand used to switch dugouts back and forth. And Clint Hurdle was the roving minor league hitting instructor for the Rockies that year, and that was the first time I ever met Clint Hurdle. So I doubt he'll remember me, but it'll be fun to reminisce with him and talk about his life in baseball and what it's taught him. Because if you go through the book, Hurdleisms, I believe it's called, you certainly get the sense that he has learned a lot from his time in Major League Baseball. Go ahead, Sam.
I'm just gonna be honest here. I'm gonna let you down real easy a week in advance so that your heart isn't broken come the day. But I don't think that he's gonna remember a bat boy from AA 31 years ago.
No, I don't think he's going to. Even as obnoxious as I was, he's definitely not going to remember me. So let's talk about the UConn Huskies women's basketball program. 16 Final Fours in the last 17 years. Now, I know some people will look at this and say, this has a lot to do with, the lack of parity that there was in women's college basketball for so many years, and that's obviously changed here in recent years as we start to see some different teams in the mix when it comes to women's basketball that weren't for so many years. But just let that soak in for a second, to steal a term from Anita Marks, who's been very good at stealing things in her career. Let's say marinate in it for a moment here when it comes to Gino Auriemma and what he's done in his career. This is remarkable stuff. Like, this level of greatness, to be one of the Final Four teams in the NCAA tournament, all the games that you play during the regular season. And granted, again, a lot of those are gimmies. They're cupcakes because UConn is just so talented from a year in, year out roster standpoint, and they will continue to be. It is something else to sort of marvel at what he's done. Now, granted, it has been a while since he's won the big one. And in this new era of women's college basketball where there is more parity, the fact that he hasn't won the big one is certainly something that sticks out like a sore thumb. And if USC has Juju Watkins last night, he may very well not win the big one this year either. As we saw, Juju Watkins and this USC team beat UConn earlier in the year. Still, you've got to stand up and sort of applaud what Gino Auriemma has accomplished here over the last 20 years.
Yeah, no, undoubtedly. I mean, I got to play the heel here. Obviously, that's what I'm here to do. But yeah, when you have the resources that have been put into that program because of the dynastic run that it's been on for the better part of the last 3 or 4 decades, yeah, you should make 16 of the last 17 Final Fours, quite frankly, with exactly what Jason said, the lack of parity in women's basketball, quite frankly. That coupled with the fact that the first 2 rounds of the women's basketball tournament are still played at home. I don't know when we're going to get over that and turn this into a real basketball tournament where you actually have to go to a neutral site to play every round. Objectively easier to get to the Final Four when you're getting halfway there with 2 home games. I also think that like when I heard that stat last night at the end of the game or on SVP after the game, whoever mentioned it, my first thought was, wait. They've been to the Final Four and we're talking about how Gino hasn't won a championship in a decade and a half. So that to me is where this all kind of comes into question when you look at how many Final Fours they've been to, but how many times they've, climbed the mountain only not to get to the top, especially in recent years. That's what's concerning for me. On the subject of the game last night, I mean, it sounds like you and I can kind of agree on if Juju Watkins plays in that game, it's either in overtime still or USC wins it in regulation. UConn simply didn't play their best basketball last night. We saw them play better than they played last night in the loss, quite frankly. If you go back and watch the loss, they were playing better as a team against USC than they were last night, but Paige Becker's dropping 31. When you have 2 players that combine for 55 of your 74 points, yeah, it's a recipe for success.
40 and 31 in the last 2 games for Paige Beckers, putting this UConn team on her back as she gets ready to depart for the WNBA. Real quick.
3rd most points by a single woman in a single double in an NCAA tournament.
And what's crazy is I think she's now 3rd all time on the UConn Huskies women's all-time scoring list. She missed a season. I mean, that's crazy. She'd easily be the all-time leading scorer. UConn certainly a favorite to win it all. We're coming back. Odds and Ends is right around the corner. How about free food for one FBS college football program? Yep, we're going to get to that. Plus, some news from the NFL owners' meetings. What's going on with regard to rules changes? All of that and a whole bunch more. Don't you go anywhere. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Tuesday. Don't forget, Sports Wrap with Jason Page, the podcast. Available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Go and check it out. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to this fine show. You can also watch it most days, like 90% of the time. It's available on YouTube if they don't feel like throwing up a copyright block on the show for absolutely no reason at all. And you could also check it out over on Spotify. So go and watch us there as well. All right. Without any further delay, time for some odds and ends. Presented by our friends over at Edge Boost, the financial platform paying you cash back to wager. Edge Boost is an online bank account that pays you for every deposit, every one of them. With the Edge Boost Visa debit card, you're getting up to 0.5% cash back on all your sportsbook, daily fantasy site, and casino transactions. Free money back in your pocket just for doing what you're doing already. It's a no-brainer. Plus, your Edge Boost debit card starts with a $250,000 daily limit, and it'll never be declined for gambling activity. They've got built-in tools to help you stay responsible, and there's absolutely no hidden fees or minimum required balances. Stop leaving money on the table. It's just, you're leaving it there. Visit edgeboost.bet. Learn more. Sign up today with edgeboost.bet. Or just scan the QR code below. Use my promo code WRAP, W-R-A-P. Get yourself a free account upgrade right now with our friends over at Edge Boost. Yes, Sam.
I mean, NFL draft season around the corner, Jason. You got to get your Edge Boost all set up so that you can get the NFL draft bets in. They just opened up a bunch of the markets here in New Jersey.
Did they?
Yeah.
Cam Ward right now.
Genty, you would not believe this. What team do you think is the favorite? What? Go ahead.
I'm so glad you mentioned Ashton Genty. I just saw a video of his workout the other day.
Yeah.
The guy looks like Mini Hulk. Oh my God. I couldn't believe how I've never seen a running back built like that before. The dude is massive.
Yeah, you have. Saquon Barkley. He's built like Saquon Barkley.
Is Saquon that big?
Yeah.
I don't know. Ashton Genty in the upper body looks way bigger.
Oh, no. You know who it is? It's that running back for the Packers who never succeeded. They called him Quadzilla. Oh gosh, what was the name of that running back? That's who it is. That's what that workout video reminded me of.
Man, I couldn't get over it. I
gotta
was
look
blown
this
away.
up.
All right, you go look it up. Well, I tell people why they're watching highlights of Coastal Carolina on their TV screen. Have you heard about this? Coastal Carolina, the first FBS program in America to offer free concessions to their fans. I mean, this is out of this world. The first question I got from my husband last night was, well, does that include booze? No, it doesn't include booze. We always go to booze. No, it doesn't include booze. But free concessions, nachos, soda, hot dog, all that stuff. That is a great gesture from the folks at Coastal Carolina. So if you go watch them next year, free concessions for you.
Anyone going down to the surf turf? We might be setting up a field trip. Yeah, you don't even know what I'm talking about, do you? You don't even know that their turf at Coastal Carolina is colored seafoam green. They call it the surf turf. Look up the Coastal Carolina field and then insert a picture of it right there. It's really cool. AJ Dillon, by the way, was the name of Quadzilla, who I was trying to think of. And that is who Ashton Genty does remind me of build-wise. I mean, they're both just massive human beings.
Yeah, they are massive human beings. There is other news from the world of football and in the NFL, Sam Yarnell. Owners' meetings are going on. By the way, Thursday on the show, Matt Verderam to recap the owners' meetings. He's down there in sunny Florida getting to check that out. So, what have we learned? What is going on at the owners' meetings, Sam?
Oh my gosh. So a couple of different things coming away today, Jason. I believe they're finishing up today and I guess recessing until May because, obviously there's the second owners meetings that take place in May. Everyone saw the coach's photo. It looked great. They all looked super happy and sunny and like they had been outside for the first time in, a couple months. But the voting on whether or not the rules change, here's what we got. So they are moving the touchback out to the 35-yard line, 10 more yards on a touchback now on the kickoff. They tabled until that aforementioned owners meeting in May whether or not they're going to rework the onside kick, and I guess the theory is that you'll take away the part where you have to declare that you're onside kicking and so on and so forth, and it'll go back to being more like a traditional onside kick. And then the last one is obviously the one that no one can stop talking about, the banning of the tush push. And of course, as you or I could have predicted, they didn't come to a conclusion on it. They tabled that one as well. But what I will say about that is, with regard to the tush push rule or the new rule that they'd implement to ban it, the tabling for a month gives them a chance to kind of go back and see what they would need to change to get it potentially passed all the way through or before they want to bring it to a vote.
Because I think it's 24 of 32 teams have to approve a rule change. Also gives the Eagles time to politic for the fact of why it shouldn't be banned, which they're going to do. We're out of time. We gotta go. We'll see you all back here tomorrow. Cameron Maben, Kurt Heelan, Vlad, Sam, all of us. Thanks to all of our guests today, Dennis Bernstein and you, Sam. We'll see you all back here tomorrow.